Hey, Facebook friends, how's everyone doing today? Hope you're all having an amazing and super productive day. Tamie M coming to you from TamieMCoaching.com. And what I want to talk to you about today is how to break up with anybody elegantly. How to break up with anybody elegantly. And you know, I feel like I'm in a really good position to have this conversation because Lord knows that in the last 49 years I have had every possible experience, I think, in this regard, whether that be walking away from dysfunctional, toxic, narcissistic, romantic partners, family members, relatives, friends, colleagues, you name it. And I can tell you that I've done it really well sometimes and really not so well others, right? Especially when you don't know how to do it elegantly, right? Often what happens is we wait till things are so intense and so bad that we're bolting out of reaction, or we're reacting from our lower self rather than our higher self, rather than our calm self, rather than from, a healthy perspective. And in reaction, our worst self shows up, and then kaboom, right? So it can get pretty ugly if we don't know how to handle these things elegantly. Over time, with some amazing help from some amazing people in my life, I have learned how to handle these awkward situations really well, I think. So I want to share with you what I have learned, and hopefully you'll find some value in that. But before we jump in, I'm just going to say hi. I see a whole bunch of people hopping on. Sarah, welcome. Nice to see you. Cameron, welcome. Nice to see you. I see Julia's on. Nice to see you, girlfriend. Guys, do me a favor. If you're catching the broadcast live, drop me a 1 in the comments. If you're catching the replay, drop a 2. And if you happen to be new to my live broadcast, let me know you're new and let me know where you're coming in from. Where on the planet are you, so that I can reach out and say hello. Would love to connect with you. So how do we go about breaking up with someone elegantly? Like avoiding the big, ugly, toxic mess, or, the unnecessary pain and drama, while still dealing with what we have to deal with, right? How do we do that? So that's what we're talking about today. So, first and foremost, I want to say that it's, I find working with the clients that I do and just observing people as we go through life, not everyone certainly, but a lot of people are really afraid of conflict. They're really afraid of conflict. And this brings us back to, we often, even though the writing's on the wall and we know what we know what we need to do, we know, where this is headed, we're afraid of the conflict, so we avoid and we pretend and we lie to ourselves, and we wait too long and until we're in such pain, such agony, such an uncomfortable position that we're reacting, we're lashing out. Like, even the healthiest of human beings can be quite abusive in response to being abused, right? So when we wait too long, even though the writing is on the wall, that's what happens. And I find often that happens out of a place of being afraid of conflict. For me, honestly, and I think, for probably a good number of you, like growing up in the kind of family I grew up in, I've never been afraid of conflict. Like I learned how to, I learned all about conflict at a very young age. So I, have always been able to walk right into it, nose to nose, like walk right into it. But I certainly can understand why a lot of folks would have discomfort in that regard. And, we want to avoid further pain, further attack, right? And often our boundaries aren't really strong and we're not necessarily taking the best care of ourselves. So, we want to avoid at all costs, right? But the reality is there's nothing wrong with conflict if it leads you to a better place. There's nothing wrong with walking into dealing with something head on if it puts you in a position of being able to be standing, grounded, rooted in a deeper sense of truth for you. What is true for you? So if you're someone that is really uncomfortable with conflict, I would encourage you to start practicing in small ways of having the difficult conversations, setting the boundaries, walking into the uncomfortable situations with the intention of taking care of yourself. And what I'm going to share with you today will be helpful, I think, in terms of just some really simple strategies that you can use, some things that you can keep in mind that will really help you avoid unnecessary pain, unnecessary drama, so that the conflict that we're so afraid of doesn't have to turn into this great big kaboom thing, right? Now, what I'm going to share with you today, I'll also say as a side note, this is really for when we're done. So what I'm sharing with you today, this is for when we're done. This isn't a negotiation. This is, we've made a decision for ourselves, no matter who this is. A friend, a colleague, a lover, someone we've recently started dating, someone we've been, dating for a very long time, a friend who's been in our life for decades and we finally just can't deal with the toxicity anymore. Whoever it is, this particular strategy is for when we are clear and we are done, okay? Not open for negotiation. Who else do we have on here? I see a whole bunch of comments coming on, but I can't actually read them, guys. So my apologies, but thank you for joining. Welcome, welcome. I hope you're going to get some value out of this. That is the whole intention. So first and foremost, how to break up with anybody elegantly. How to break up with anybody elegantly. First and foremost, choose your timing. Choose your timing. So important that we take care of ourselves. So important that we're not ending relationships. Sometimes we don't have a choice, but in so much as it's possible that we're not ending relationships, long-term, short-term, it doesn't matter, out of reaction, out of knee-jerk reaction, out of anger, out of, whatever the reaction is. Choose your timing. The writing's on the wall. You know it's time to put some distance between you and this person. You know it's time to walk away from this relationship. You know it's time to close the door. So pick a time to sit down and have a conversation with this person or to meet with this person somehow, some way, whatever is appropriate, where you are safe. Because sometimes when we're having these conversations, y'all aren't in safe situations. So always make sure that you are safe, please. Always make sure that that is a number one priority. But choose your timing. A time when you are well rested. A time when you are not highly emotional. A time when you are not feeling massively victimized and traumatized. A time when you have had the chance to process your feelings, get to a place of clarity, do whatever you need to do in terms of self-care to get yourself to even keel. One of my mentors calls it neutralizing the energy. Our feelings are legitimate. If you're feeling it, it's true for you, no matter what anybody else says. But we are responsible to deal with our feelings, not to be dumping that on other people necessarily. So, dealing with our feelings so that we can get ourselves to a place where we've processed, we're even keeled, we're well balanced, we're well rested, we're clear. Emotionally, there's some neutrality there. Energetically, it's neutral. We're clear, we're standing on solid ground. Okay, so first and foremost, that is the very first thing that you want to do if you are looking to end a relationship with someone elegantly. Start from that place. It'll make all the difference. Now, next. Keep it in the I language. Keep it in the I language. It's a 12-step sponsor from many years ago that I was fortunate enough to work with, who had a huge impact on my life, who taught me that when communicating, especially in these kind of dynamics where we are, it's uncomfortable. There's emotions involved. Sometimes we're dealing with very narcissistic people. It's very, very difficult to communicate with someone who's busy projecting, who has an agenda, right? Very, very difficult. So when we're attacking, when we're blaming, when we're criticizing, when we're judging, even though they may have given us mountains to legitimately judge and criticize and what have you, we're about getting this done clean, clear, with, Clear, effective communication and as little damage to anyone involved as possible. Best way to do that, keep it in the I language. Keep it in the I language. So, for example, I notice that it is no longer serving me to be in this relationship with you. I notice that it is no longer serving me to be in this relationship with you. There's no blame in that. There's no criticism in that. There's no judgment. This is my feelings, my reality. No matter what you think about that, no matter what you say about that, these are my feelings. This is my reality. I notice that when we communicate, XYZ happens. I notice when we communicate, XYZ happens. I notice that I feel XYZ. I notice that I feel XYZ. Very difficult to argue with that. Very difficult to argue with that. Now, granted, if you're dealing with a destructive narcissist, you're going to be on the receiving end of some stuff, right? You need to be clear. You need to be grounded. This is not a negotiation. It doesn't matter what they think or say. You're not attacking, you're not blaming, you're not judging, you're not criticizing. You are owning your truth, your reality, which you have every right to. So I notice that I feel XYZ. Now, some examples of that could be, I notice that I feel uncomfortable. I notice that I feel on guard. I notice that I feel manipulated and targeted. Like, who wants to feel that, right? I notice that I feel manipulated and targeted. Therefore, it's no longer serving me to be in a relationship with you. I notice that I feel controlled. I notice that I feel invalidated, diminished. I notice that I feel disregarded. I notice that I feel disrespected. I notice that I feel unsafe. I notice that I feel unsafe. Therefore, I am no longer willing to continue dating. I'm not interested in having dinner with you next week. I'm not coming to that family function next month. I notice that when I am in that environment, I feel unsafe. That could be emotionally, that could be psychologically, that could be physically. Doesn't matter. If you feel it, it's true for you. You're owning your truth, your reality. I notice that I'm walking on eggshells. Very uncomfortable. I'm not willing to walk on eggshells. And I notice that whenever I'm around you, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells. And I feel very uncomfortable. And I'm not willing to walk on eggshells. I feel like my boundaries are being violated. So those are some examples. Keep it in the I language. I notice, I feel. I am no longer willing to. Really simple. And because this is the way that you're communicating, owning your truth, your reality, no matter what they think about it, no matter what they say about it, no matter what they have to say. Because you are owning your truth and your reality, there really is no argument to be had. There's no argument to be had. There really is not much that can be said about that, right? Now, the unhealthier the person is that you're dealing with, the more likely you're going to be on the receiving end of some stuff. Remember, this is a whole other live. I talk about it often, especially when we're dealing with destructively narcissistic people. They project. We all project, but nobody projects more than a destructive narcissist. So when shit's coming at you that you don't own, there's a lot of tools that you can use to protect yourself. But this is all about exit strategy. I'm done. This isn't a negotiation. I'm done. So I'm giving you the information for closure. Bye-bye now. Not a negotiation. But there really is no argument to be had because you're keeping it in the I language. What's true for you? What you are living, what you are experiencing. What's happening for you. And my last note here, I alluded to this at the top of the live, guys. People are so afraid of conflict, but it's not important or healthy to avoid any sort of contact to avoid any sort of conflict, if the conflict helps me take care of myself. It's not important to avoid conflict if the conflict helps me take care of myself, helps me ground myself deeper in my own truth. So sometimes we've got to walk into those uncomfortable situations and have those uncomfortable conversations in order to fully take care of ourselves. Be willing to do that for yourself. And by implementing these tools, it should be a lot cleaner, a lot easier. And I can tell you, I recently heard one of my mentors, Gabby Bernstein, who I love and adore, talk about this, and it's a belief that I have had and experienced for years. The truth is, when a relationship ends in the physical, it doesn't necessarily end in the spiritual realm. Last fall, I learned that my mother died 8 months after she actually died. Whole other story. But what's interesting is, now that she's on the other side of the veil, I actually have been able to heal that relationship at a whole other level. Very, very interesting what's going on there. And even when we're all still on the planet and we go our separate ways physically, a lot of healing can take place just on our end. Just because they are not in our lives physically does not mean we cannot clean up our side of the street and do our healing work. So when a relationship ends in the physical, it does not necessarily end in the spiritual, on the energetic realm, right? So just something to keep in mind, But I hope you found this helpful. I hope you found this valuable. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to like, comment, and or share. If you hopped on late, be sure to go back and watch the replay so you catch all the goods. And once again, my name is Tamie M. I am an empowerment coach for women. I help women break free from painful relationship patterns so they can experience the love that they deserve through a proven 8-week process called the Freedom Class. And if you'd like some information on the Freedom Class, you can go to www.tamiemcoaching.com. All the details are there. It's a very, very powerful program that I am very, very proud to be offering. The students in that program are getting amazing results, amazing transformative, life-changing results, and I am actually opening up a group program at the end of the month. So if that's of interest to you, get on over to tamiemcoaching.com. You can check out the deets, and there's a link at the bottom of that page to book a free strategy call with me. We can have a conversation and see whether or not you're a good fit for the program. Otherwise, as always, I will leave you with this. Know your value. Know your value and unlock your freedom. Mwah. Much love, friends. Thanks for hopping on, everyone. I appreciate you, and I will look forward to catching up with you very soon. Bye for now.